Live from the Four Aces Studios, Four Aces Presents brings to you West Coast Bias.
The following Four Aces production is for mature audiences only. Listener discretion is highly advised.
AB, and now you're cool
Yeah.
in fantasy. But do
Yeah.
you think there's some actual idiots out there who actually went out and bought AB jerseys?
Yeah, no shit.
Raiders fans.
Hey, hey! We can talk about this a little bit later, but kind of sneak peek them now a little bit more later. But what about those dudes who have those Andrew Luck jerseys and was talking Super Bowl this
Ooh.
year? We'll get to that later.
Ouch.
We're gonna open up with
Yeah.
NBA. What's up, y'all? Y'all listening to the most recent and the newest and the today and the soon to be last episode of West Coast Bites. Now I'm messing with you. We haven't been on since February, but we're hoping to get back into the at least every other week grind, bringing you this good sports news. But there's a lot to talk about and shit. We'll probably trail even some of it off to next year, or not next year, next week, because
Next
all
year.
of it, yeah, next year, because all of it can't be covered in one week. All the bullshit that then went down. So let's start with the NBA. First and foremost, congratulations. I want to say on air right here, congratulations to the Toronto Raptors for winning the 2019 NBA Finals. No hard feelings. It is
Okay,
what it is.
can somebody actually, no, hella hard feelings. Can somebody actually please explain to me, please explain to my bitter ass how a Canadian team is in the National Basketball Association? This ain't the International Basketball Association. This is the National Basketball Association. How in the hell did we let Canada, just because we border them? Are we going to be allowing Mexico teams next? No offense, Mexico. That's nothing against you. I'm just trying to understand and wrap my brain around the fact that we actually have a team from another country in a national league.
You know what bothers me more is that Drake got to touch
What?
the NBA championship.
Yeah! God, yeah, you really didn't have to go there because that
Like,
now
Drake got to
just
touch
ruins
that.
my day.
That just disturbs me.
Ugh.
But also knowing that Toronto most likely isn't making it back anytime in the near future.
Well, no.
Is
No.
a consolation prize. But they may
Well,
make it
and
back.
now
again.
we just had a Canadian freaking win the U.S. Open. They're here to take over the world, people.
One win at a
It's
time.
just getting out of control. First it's the NBA championships, and now they're beating Serena at the U.S. Open. Where does it stop?
Not the unstoppable
Trump
beast that
wants
is
a wall in
Serena.
Mexico. Maybe we need a wall up in Canada.
All right, so there was a lot of big trades and moves that happened that kind of what to a lot of people's credit balanced the league out this offseason. We now have a lot of big duos instead of big trios in the NBA, and it starts out with Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant picking up their talents from where they were respectively in Boston and Golden State and taking themselves to New York. And no, not where you thinking, not the Knicks. No, Knicks fans, sit down, stop, don't get happy. No, it never was going to happen. They landed with the Brooklyn Nets. So, Duel, kick us off with your thoughts on Durant exiting Golden State in the situation that was to go to the Nets?
Uh, I mean, it was what it was. You know, he came out here. He came and went and signed with Golden State with and a plan and an idea in mind, a goal to accomplish, and they came up short. And so, that being said, it was what it was. Me personally, I think it was almost a mutual type decision. Because with all the players that they got, just from my own personal perspective, it's coming down to money,
Mm.
and I just don't think, me personally, that there's any way possible that you're going to keep those four guys paid. Those are four super max contracts. And it's possible, yeah, that they could have done it, but the sacrifice, a bench, you can ride those horses, but those guys are going to need rest too. So for the long term, for the short term, they came in, they wanted the three-peat, just didn't happen. They became one of the greatest NBA teams, in the history. You got to give credit where credit is due. So he accomplished, some things that he wanted to accomplish. We went to a team, he won his championships, and for him personally, I guess it was time to move on. And I don't think the team really had any disagreement about the situation. They still have three superstars. They still have the ability to build around, three core guys, and add depth to that, which you're going to need in the league. Obviously, 82 games in playoffs.
Yeah.
So to me, it was a mutual thing. They could have kept him and sacrificed some other things, but was it really going to be worth it for the long haul? For both player and team. And then going into New Jersey, it's a situation where he just proved himself all over again.
Yeah.
It's officially, his team.
Yeah.
Kyrie Irving is there, but we're all waiting for Kevin Durant to show up and do his thing. So
Yeah.
he gets to be the man again. He gets to go prove himself, not only improve himself in the way, because, obviously, with every championship and success, there's going to be questions. So the obvious question is can he do it, without 4 or 5 other superstars? Can he do it without a all-star lineup? Can he go out there with one other player and build a team and build a franchise? Can he do it? And so, those are questions. That's the challenge that's presented before him now. I think he wanted that challenge, whether it was New Jersey or somewhere else. And I think he's going to embrace it. And he'll be fine. Whether he'll be back in the finals is questionable, obviously, because the league is going to be a little bit tougher. But Kevin Durant did what Kevin Durant wanted to do.
Well, but being in the East also gives them a pretty good shot at getting back to that finals. Him and Kyrie on this. Not to say the East isn't stacked. You got Giannis, the league MVP. You got the 76ers. There's Boston's still a threat. You know what I'm saying? Like there's some damn good teams in the East. But Kevin Durant, and Kyrie, should they meld together and mesh together well, will be dangerous and a hard team to beat in that Eastern Conference. But Heather, your thoughts on Durant saying no thank you to more years in Golden State and taking himself to the other side, 3,000 miles over that way, as that Instagram post said.
Well, the thing is that I think, honestly, the writing was on this wall for this to happen, like, early on in the season. I think that a lot of us thought that this was going to be Durant's final year with Golden State, regardless if we had won or not. Things, I think his time played out where he was at. There was some team issues. There was some scuffles, that very apparently affected the team at one point. I wish him absolutely no ill will. I definitely think being in the East, even with as stacked as they are now, I think that the West leveled up even more in the off season since the finals than the East has. Just with all of the changes and the moves and pieces across the board. But I wish him the best. And, you know, I'm glad it wasn't the Knicks. I'm glad it wasn't, you know, I'm glad it's an East team and that we're not really going to have to play much against him unless it comes down to a championship. And not because I don't want to play against him. It's that nostalgia piece of me that it would be hard to, you know, after seeing this team be together the way that they've been, it would be hard to see that, you know, because I do wish him. I have no ill will. He's a great human being. He does a lot for the community. He has supported my friend's nonprofit organization. So I wish him no ill will. And to be honest, I'm super glad that Kyrie ended up with him and not like what the rumors were saying that he was going to end up in LA with LeBron again. Because then, like, what the fuck was the point of even leaving Cleveland in the first place? But you know, so I'm glad to see that. I wonder because here's the thing: if you talked about building a franchise with two players. Well, you know, we saw how that worked out or maybe didn't work out quite so well in Oklahoma. So we'll see what they can do over there in Brooklyn. And hopefully, you know, I wish him the best. Not like winning a championship against the Golden State Warriors the best, but other than that, I wish him the best.
I can see where you're coming from.
I also wish him a speedy recovery because let's be honest, the likelihood he's going to see the court at all this year is very slim. Yeah. So that's the other thing is that I wish him and I give him mad respect for coming out and saying, you know, because everybody was getting on. I mean, Bob Myers even freaking broke down crying over this whole thing. Everybody saw the press conference. You know, for those out there who wanted to say it was fake, I call bullshit. I really believe that he actually does care about his players. You know, the fact that he came out and said nobody but me pressured me to come back when I did. Yeah. You know, so I appreciate that fact, and I wish him all the best in a speedy recovery because, you know, that man went out there and literally, left it all on the court. No. So nothing but the best to him and a speedy recovery and take them winners for you, bro.
Yeah. Sure. And let me say this. I have a lot of respect for the man as a player. I've always respected what he did on the court, and I've always said if he leaves, he leaves. And people always took that as me saying, well, Kim. No, it was never Kim. It was just a matter of, okay, bro, you came, you gave us what you could give us, or you gave us what you wanted to give us, 3 years, you know, whatever, and now you got to go. Okay. It's not a... And part of it is also the fact that the Warriors have built an organization and a culture that's going to continue to attract good talent. Maybe not necessarily always top tier, elite, A1 Kevin Durant talent, but it's going to attract enough talent to compete. And so would I have loved to see another run with Kevin Durant and the rest of the boys? Oh yeah, of course. No, there's not a Warriors fan out there that would say anything like that. But am I mad that he left? Nah, nowhere near it. The next big
He's
story.
He's trying to write his own history right now. He's trying to write his own history. And we're no longer in the days of, players staying with one team for their whole career. Yeah. You know, Kobe, I think, was that last anomaly of that player that basically rode with his team for his entire career. It just doesn't happen anymore. And I don't really think people expect it to happen anymore because it's just like having a regular job, especially say in the tech industry. They want to see that you've spent time here, you've spent time there. that you've been able to thrive in different types of environments. You know, he's growing as a person and as a player, and sometimes you can't do that by staying in the same location.
Right. That's right on spot. You know, you got to, like Steve Nash said, he's that type of person that wants to grow, and I can't hate him for wanting to grow. But the other big story to come out of the West Coast and in the NBA this offseason, well, there were two more, but we're going to touch on the first one first and then the second one second. And they both have to do with both the LA teams.
Really?
Yes, that's how it works. Just in case you didn't know, the first one's going to come first and the second one's going to come second, all right? Just in case that order was all confusing and stuff, okay? No. First, we're going to talk the Lakers. Then we're going to talk their crosstown rivals, the Clippers. Both teams should be fairly good this year. Both teams made some pretty big moves this offseason. The Lakers pretty much rebuilding their roster around LeBron James and the newest Laker, Anthony Davis. And the Clippers building feeling like they've completed their roster with the additional Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. So first, let's talk Lakers. Okay, so first let's get the funny ha-ha out of the way before we get to the serious. How the fuck DeMarcus Cousins went from grabbing rebounds in the NBA Finals to arrest warrants being out for his ass while getting married sandwiched in between in a matter of about 2.5 months blows my fucking mind.
And didn't he just, tear his ACL?
Yeah, and injured and done for the year. Never saw. He saw about as many plays as a Laker as Antonio Brown saw as a Raider. All right. So
I mean, when you put it that way, yeah, that's about it.
You know, and I'm not hating on dude. I'm truly not hating on dude, but I just don't understand. You have got to have, he is the epitome of that song. If I didn't have bad luck, I wouldn't have no luck at all. Just dead serious.
Well, no, he is the living embodiment of the fact that common sense is really not that common.
I can take that too.
It's just I really can't tell you because and that was, we all know that I was very hesitant on when the Warriors picked him up because of, having lived in Sacramento, having seen his shenanigans playing for the Kings, all of that, completely worried about all of that stuff. And we got lucky and didn't have to really deal with any of that. But, man, the second that he leaves, all his shit goes to shit. Bruh.
Wow. Dude, the Lakers are your squad. Your thoughts on the whole DeMarcus Cousins situation? From bringing him in to the torn ACL to this new tape coming out?
It sucks. That's just it. It sucks.
Yeah. No, amen.
Life sucks, and it can be a bitch sometimes. So, it'd have been nice for him to play and everything else, and he's trying to get in shape, he's trying to do the right thing, but shit happens.
Yeah.
It's just what it is, so and he'll bounce back. I'm sure he'll get another opportunity
somewhere. Yeah.
Somewhere. It might be with the Lakers next year, depending on how they do and the way things shake down.
Yeah.
But we'll see. He's had his issues in terms of being a headache, in terms of being, a disruptive guy in the locker room, so on and so forth. But even with all that, Antonio Brown has proven if you can ball out, you can ball out.
Yeah.
And he's proven that he can ball out. And there are teams that, would require his service, being a down low presence, the easy buckets, a guy who can defend the paint, rebound, and play a little bit on the perimeter too. A good pass to big man. He's got a hell of a toolbox. The problem is keeping the guy on the court and keeping his head straight in the game and making sure, he's ready to go on game day. I think he's humbled himself enough. And see, the thing about DeMarcus, I think as long as he's winning, everything will be fine.
Yeah.
Sacramento, he wasn't winning, and it didn't look like the organization as a whole was trying to was trying to build up a team around him to be successful.
Right.
So that weighs in on him. He wants to win. He went to New Orleans. They traded him to New Orleans. Didn't hear a peep about the guy. They were winning.
Yeah.
And then he even got to the playoffs. I think that year with him. He comes to Golden State. You don't hear a peep about the guy. They're winning. So as long as he's on the team that's competitive and is winning, it's kind of unfortunate. It's a case that you're not always going to play for a winner. But if as long as he's playing for a team that's competing, he's going to be okay. So
yeah, but see, a situation shouldn't determine your character.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Very true. Very true. And it shouldn't. It shouldn't. But we that's the kind of the world we live in. A world based on ego.
You're right.
A world based on, the dickhead. All his whole career, he's been a winner. And he's always been the big guy that's been, recruited and sought after by teams. Whether it's been high school, AAU, on to Kentucky. You don't just get to Kentucky. The one and done program, that it is playing for Coach Cal. He puts guys in the league, guys that are ready to go in the league out of high school. So he's always been a catered to. He's always been, you feel me, his ego has always been fed, and it's always been fed by teams that are competing, teams that are winning. So it's a real kick in the nuts when you go somewhere and you can't, you feel me, your ego is not being stroked. When you go.
I think that sums up a lot of the problems with a lot of these athletes just in general when that shit happens.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. 100%.
That's what it is. Ego gets in the way. Getting back to, he'll get back. He'll get another opportunity. But again, I think, as I said, that the opportunity is depending on whether or not he's winning. ACL is not as bad as an Achilles, and that's what he did, right? He tore his ACL this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he might get some action around about March. After the All-Star break. That's what I'm thinking for Klay Thompson. Right around March, right after the All-Star break, they'll start easing him back into the lineup. So he'll be okay. I think the DeMarcus Cousins might see the floor this year in time enough if the Lakers are in position, to make the playoffs. And it may not be March or it may not be during the season, but he'll have that impact in the playoffs if they can make it. But I think that it's a bright future for him. But again, it's all depending on if he can stay on the court and if he can keep his mind on the game.
Amen to that. And that's one of the biggest things, especially with an athlete like DeMarcus, where he needs to know and understand that his success is all just based off of him keeping in line and getting focused. But all right, so DeMarcus in and out of Lakerville just as quick, or might see some time later on, but at this point, not really. Who knows? But they brought in Dwight Howard to replace him. I'm truly interested to know, Doobie, like before I let Heather do her thing, I'm truly interested to know how you feel about this, because the last time the Lakers and Dwight Howard were together, it wasn't exactly as beautiful as Lakers fans and a lot of NBA people thought it was going to be. So holla at us, like, what were your thoughts on the Lakers bringing back in Dwight to try to make this team complete? Hopefully he'll be sitting behind JaVale McGee, but
well, to me, it looks like what the Lakers are doing is they're trying to get real big, real long, but you got Cousins, you got Anthony Davis, and you got LeBron, and moving LeBron to the point, or allowing him to handle the ball, giving him point guard duty, is as the story is reported, finally, about time, allows Anthony Davis to play the 4 and allows DeMarcus Cousins to play the 5, almost in their comfortable roles. They're looking to really solidify that paint. Now, Dwight Howard is not the Dwight Howard of old, catching lobs and so on and so forth. And with DeMarcus Cousins being gone, they still have JaVale McGee, but still you don't want Anthony Davis at the 5, right? You want to open up the floor, and you still want to have the ability to defend the paint and rebound, which Anthony Davis can do. He can play through the perimeter and can handle the ball a little bit. You know what I'm saying? He's going to open up the floor for you. Got a little bit of a jump shot, not a three-point shooter, but a little bit of, 10 to 15 feet. You know what I'm saying? That's going to keep guys honest. So the floor is open now. So that's going to allow a guy like DeMarcus Cousins to flourish, from the low post. If they play traditional basketball and you go inside out, from the 5, you play inside out, and, the floor is just a little bit more open. Teams have to honor that collapse. You get your perimeter looks, with your Danny Greens and your Kyle Kuzma and so on and so forth. So, adding in Dwight Howard, okay, now let's keep that goal in mind. Let's keep Anthony Davis at the 4. Let's keep LeBron handling the ball at the point, and keep the floor open. But we still need some guys to fill in that 5 position. Really, all we want you to do is rebound the basketball and block shots. Now, Dwight Howard is not going to give you 20 a game. We're not asking it. But if we ask him to start, which is, they may start JaVale McGee and bring him up. If he's coming off the bench, then this is what we need. We need 10 rebounds, right, and we need about 2 or 3 block shots. You can do that for us in the paint, change some shots, use your fouls. It will be good. If you're asking him to start, okay, now we need about 3 to 5 block shots. That's what we want you to do, and defend the paint. We're not really looking for you to, be a low, a low post presence. We don't really need you on the block. Matter of fact, we're going to move you away from the block, right? And we're going to force that 5-man to play sort of a zone, right? Kind of forget about you as long as you're not on that block. Open our floor up. What we're going to do is get you a lot of dump behind. We're going to get you a lot of plays. We're going to get you 10 to 12 points just on work behinds and the defense collapsing on LeBron, and defense collapsing on Anthony Davis, and the defense collapsing on Kyle Kuzma. You know what I'm saying? That's where he's going to get it. And we're not worried about you scoring. That's not your responsibility. Your responsibility is in the paint and rebound the basketball. And if there's nothing else Dwight Howard can do, it's that. Defend the paint, change some shots, rebound the basketball, get it out, get us into our, and coming off the bench would be ideal for him. And again, the last go-round wasn't as good, right? Because you're playing with a different animal. You're playing with Kobe Bryant. You're playing with the guy whose one and only goal, night in, night out, was his main goal, his top goal, night in, night out, is to win. Point blank. And he's going to
what's the difference between that and LeBron?
Well, the difference between that and LeBron is Kobe's going to get your face. And he's going to, he's going to be a little bit more aggressive and a little bit more demanding of, than LeBron is. LeBron, it's going to be there, but it's going to be tempered in a way where it's more of an he's going to demand. Expectations are going to be there, but the demands aren't going to be 24/7 like it would be with Kobe. When you play for Kobe, it's 24/7. You come to practice, you wake up, you go to sleep, everything back. LeBron is going to have to understand, okay, it's not all about the game, so we're going to, we're going to work with you a little bit more. And not only that, the expectations are there. Right? When Dwight Howard is coming to that team, the expectations are through the roof. You know what I'm saying? We're expecting the starting Dwight Howard. I'm expecting you to give me those 20 points a game. I'm expecting you to give me those 10 points a game. So when you come out here and you're talking about injuries, you're talking about this hurt, and back hurt, and this hurt, I want to hear it. LeBron is going to be a little bit more understanding. Like, back hurt, let's go ahead and sit in the game. Let's go ahead, sit back in the game. And listen to the guy, you know what I'm saying? So and again, the expectation, we're not expecting Dwight Howard to come in here and give us 20 a game. We'll be happy if he gives us 10. We're not expecting him to go in. We'd like for him to give us 10 rebounds a game, but if he gives us 5, 7, 8, that's good. We'd like for him to give us, 5 blocks a game, but if he gives us 2, maybe 3, we'd like that. That's good. So the expectations are different. The expectations are it's going to be a little bit easier for him to kind of come in and and be and feel accepted. You know what I'm saying? And feel as though he can have an impact on the team and feel as though he can be a part of the team. Whereas, when you're playing for Kobe, it's like get it on, and get it now, do it, or get on. Period. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so it's a totally different dynamic. So it's gonna be easier for him, you know what I'm saying, to come in and play and kind of sit back and be laid back and chill and let other guys kind of do the work and then come on. But it's I hope he does okay. I think he'll do okay. I'm anticipating him coming off the bench and being more impactful because there's no expectation there. And again, he's Dwight Howard. Oh, whatever. But if he comes in and he's averaging 12 a game off the bench, right? And he comes in and he's averaging 8 a game off the bench and 2 or 3 block shots, then it's kind of like, oh, well, maybe he might be able to start. You feel me?
Yeah.
He might. Oh, look at Dwight Howard. Look, that's the expectation, right?
Yeah.
You feel me? Just give us something to talk about. Give us something to look forward to. Give us some hope. And if you can do that, then the ceiling opens back up. But again, the expectation is not.
Okay, well you can be an optimist and I'll be a realist.
Okay.
But I get what you're saying. Hopefully it for your team's sake, hopefully it turns out better this go round. You're right, he doesn't have Kobe. Also, Magic isn't around anymore. That dynamic also might make a difference. But for me, I think that this was a bad look on both parts. On both the Lakers side and Howard's side. I mean, with the way that he left last time, this to me just doesn't look good for anybody. And with as much as you say it's different playing with LeBron, we've seen how LeBron treats his teammates out there. We've seen how LeBron throws his teammates under the bus. We've seen how everything that goes right is about LeBron and everything that goes wrong is about everybody else. So, I mean, hopefully, it'll work out different than before, but it almost kind of feels like, they say the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result.
Yeah.
It's granted, yes, is the situation different? Yeah, but here's the thing. Dwight Howard hasn't lived up to expectations in a very long time.
Yeah.
He hasn't. He's been very underwhelming for a very long time. To the point of, bro, maybe it's time for you to just retire.
Yeah.
This seems like a last-ditch effort at some sort of relevancy to me. Hopefully it works out for the team. Well, actually, honestly, I hate the Lakers, so maybe hopefully it doesn't work out for the team. But for your sake and for your heart and your soul, I hope it works out for your team. But it's just odd to me especially with the way that things ended with him in LA, that would have even been a possibility of him going back there on either
the way he
part.
ended things.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I can see where you're coming from. Like I say, I'm going to say this: the Lakers look good this year. Evidently, the most people think so.
How much
Hollywood,
did it pain you to say that?
Man. Well, yes and no. It pained me, but it didn't really pain me that much because it's an inevitability. Sports works in cycles. Teams can only stay down for so long unless you're the Browns or the Lions or something like that. And even with the Browns, you can only stay down for 30 some odd years before you finally turn shit around. So I am just the same way I was with the Warriors during their up years, during their 30-year downturn. I'm cautiously optimistic because in recent years, it just seems to be there's always something that happens to go wrong when the Lakers look good. I don't wish for it. Not like with the Dallas Cowboys. I pray that something goes wrong with them every year. Ezekiel Elliott shoots himself in the leg. Dak Prescott gets slapped too hard and can't play. I don't know, but like I pray something happens to them every year. But I don't pray that something happens to the Lakers. But I'm cautiously optimistic because recently they've seemed to be in that cycle where it's just something. Every year it's something that holds them from being able to live
called
up to their
LeBron.
potential. I'm not calling that they won't make the playoffs because I think that this team, regardless of how things go with team chemistry, this team should make it to the playoffs. They have enough talent on the court that they should at least make the playoffs. So I don't have doubt in that. But like I said, the championship expectations I'm a little bit tempered with, the same way I would be with any other team, the same way I was in 2015 with the Warriors. Till they actually won it, I have tempered expectations, and that's what I kind of have for the Lakers this year. Is that my expectations are kind of tempered. They have a lot of talent on that field. They definitely have the capability of doing some things. I don't know how this whole thing with Frank Vogel and Jason Kidd and all that's going to work out, but that could play into how well the team does this year. Isn't it Vogel that they hired as a head coach?
Frank Vogel,
Too much talent can be a team's downfall.
Yeah, and that's where I also think that Vogel comes into play. Is that his ability to be Phil Jackson like and manage those egos and manage that squad is going to be critical in their success. So, because if they start out rough and then all of a sudden they start turning on each other, it's going to be up to him to level the playing field and get them to realize like where that energy needs to be put. So I say that he's literally got one of the hardest jobs in basketball. This is why I never understood why people discredited Steve Kerr. It's just like more superstars doesn't necessarily. Yes, it makes your job as far as having to actually coach X's and O's less difficult, but dealing with all those egos
you have to manage.
Exactly.
It's ridiculous.
And everybody feel, and when everybody's elite and everybody's a top star, everybody feels like their word should be heard. So to me,
well,
that's
NBA coaching. And a lot of the high school and the collegiate level, the X and O's comes into play.
Yeah.
75% of it is managing ego
Yeah.
and getting guys to buy in. Because like the old saying goes, everybody in that league is a super.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Everybody in that league was the man at some point, and it's become an adjustment process in terms of getting everybody to buy in. Now, it does happen, and coaches do that. That's probably one of the first priorities. You know, of course, you're going to have your ex. You pretty much isn't a play that you can draw up that they haven't seen or haven't executed. It's all a matter of repetition and the timing down so that, the play is successful. So that's there. You know, the training and the workouts and the practices, you really got to, again, manage those egos and get guys to buy in with what your philosophy and what you believe and what you're trying to accomplish to get them to come to practice and give it their all. 100% everything. Guys don't believe you. In the league today, it's easy to up and find another contract, a fat one somewhere else.
Yep.
So you really got to get guys manage those egos and temper those, those heads, get guys to buy in, to one legitimate belief. Everyone believes they're going to the final. At the beginning of the season, everyone believes they're going to the playoffs and they're dominate, so on and so forth. It's all just a matter of, okay, when times get tough, do these guys still believe in the philosophy? And when it's time to step up, do I have guys that can step up, and feel that? Yeah, you do. But, are they happy with their playing time? Are they happy with their role? Are they happy with this? What's going on in their home life and so on and so forth? That's the big part of the thing right there.
Now, another coach that is pretty good at handling these type of egos on the opposite side of LA has got himself another team full of, well, I can't necessarily say egos because I wouldn't consider Kawhi Leonard an ego-filled player.
No,
like not
all.
even close.
At
Yeah,
all.
so he should be fairly easy. Doc Rivers should have a fairly easy time coaching him up. And that's what's dangerous for the league. The addition of Kawhi Leonard to the Clippers, who were already a pretty decent team last year, like Max Kellerman likes to say, they took the Warriors with Kevin Durant to 6 games. They had a good series against the Warriors in the playoffs last year, and that was without Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. And they added both of them this offseason while not really losing much by the way of the talent, the more talented players that they had. I believe they lost Didi Gregorius Alexander in the trade for Paul George and one other player.
That's not much.
Yeah, that's not
Yeah,
much.
he's good. Don't get me wrong. It's not much.
Right, and then on
Especially
top of
what you
that,
got back.
oh, and that was another thing that I forgot to mention too. Was the move of the Clippers, or not the Clippers, but the Nets did add DeAndre Jordan as well as Kawhi Leonard, or not Kawhi, but KD and
Kyrie Irving.
Kyrie. Yeah, Kyrie. Yeah, I knew something that ended with E.
Kawhi, Kyrie. I mean, there's a lot of K's going on here.
Yeah, but they did bring him in as well, and the Clippers as well have brought in some. I forget who else they brought in besides Leonard and George, but they brought back Patrick Beverly. They still got Lou Williams coming off the bench. This is a team that right now at this moment has the best odds to win the NBA championship. Heather, we'll start off with you. Your thoughts on Clipperville? Hey, plus
Okay,
350, they got the best odds.
Poor Jewel over there.
That's according to that's according to
You're
Westgate,
gonna
man.
crush his little heart today.
The Lakers are right behind
man.
them at plus 400. The Lakers are right behind them at plus 400, but the Clippers got the edge.
Thing.
Ooh.
Here's the thing:
All right.
is like anybody who ever thought that he was actually gonna go to the Lakers really should probably go get their heads checked.
Yeah,
The
that's just not
Lakers
really
is
him.
Not his. Exactly, it's not his brand of basketball. The people I don't think he would have been able to handle playing with LeBron at all. That's just not his style. The Clippers to me seem more his style. They're still LA, but they're like that understated LA.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's like that gentle giant. He's quiet. Like one of the biggest facial expressions he made was when he made that three during the finals, and it was like, oh my God, you actually seen him come alive for half a second. But that's also one of the things. I mean, anybody who's listened to our show is I appreciate players who are humble.
Yeah.
I just appreciate the fact that he doesn't cause drama. He's an amazing player. He's just a good dude. I hate the fact that he beat us, but and I'm glad that he didn't go to the Lakers. And the West just got really fucking interesting this offseason.
Mm-hmm.
So it's gonna be, it's gonna be, the West is gonna be, talk about the Wild Wild West now. I mean, this shit's crazy. Because I mean, we're it's gonna be an interesting one. So it's really gonna be interesting to get to see. It's gonna be interesting to get to see some of the dynamics. Because there's a whole lot of things looking good on paper, but not looking so great once it's actually in motion. So that'll be interesting to see. But I was fairly certain that he was gonna pick the Clippers if it came down to the Clippers and the Lakers. I don't really appreciate the fact that after whatever happened with Magic, they tried to throw not the Clippers, not Kawhi's camp, but the Lakers basically tried to throw Magic under the bus, saying he's the reason they ended up not getting Kawhi. When honestly, I don't think Kawhi was ever going to the Lakers. So, I mean, he may have entertained them just to entertain them and do his due diligence, because I see him as a person who is going to explore every option carefully. I feel that he's very calculated. And when I say calculated, I don't mean in a bad way, but he's not somebody who's going to make a rash decision. He's not somebody who is just going to, just look at one option. He's going to see, he's going to weigh everything. Like, you can see, like, sometimes when you look at him, you can almost see his, like, mind just working. I think sometimes that's why he is so quiet, because he's very much in his head that way. I think it's going to be very interesting to see what goes down in the West this season.
Exactly. Like the addition of Davis to the Lakers and Leonard to the Clippers definitely balanced out the West in a way that it hasn't been in a long time. There are a lot of teams from the West that have solid shots. The other team Westgate Sportsbook seems to think has a good shot out of the West is the Houston Rockets, who have the third best odds at plus 800 with the addition of Russell Westbrook to James Harden. Now, I would love to hear your thoughts as a coach on how that pairing is actually going to work.
All right. On paper, it doesn't look like it's going to work. Right? You got two ball-dominant guards. Okay? So, and how you going to have two guys that both need the ball in their hands, right, to make a team of 5 players on the floor, an 8-man rotation work, and it's only 2 guys handling the ball. Well, here you go. You have to analyze this. Okay, what we're going to do is, if it's me, is we have to break down this team, first of all, bench the players individually, and let's analyze their individual games, right, and what makes them successful, because what are they both great at? Playing that individual one-on-one basketball, but in 2 different ways, okay? Now, you look at Russell Westbrook's game. He is at 100 miles an hour all times. Whenever the ball is in his hand, he's getting up and down that floor with the ball in his hand at 100 miles an hour. And this is where he's successful, right? There's not a guard in the league who's going to stay in front of him, period. The minute you got him hip to hip, he's going to blow right by you. That's Russell Westbrook's game. Yep. You get into the cup, and he's going to get you at least 20 points getting to the cup by himself. So what does the defense have to do to stop this? Okay, there's no one person who gets the ball off and he's gone off a rebound. He's gone up the floor, right? He gets the ball in the inbound. He's gone up the floor. So you have to defend him, right, as a team with 2-3 different players to stop penetration. This is what teams do. They load up the paint, right, and they stop Russell Westbrook. They stop Westbrook's penetration whenever possible. Keep him out the paint. Keep the defense from collapsing. Force him to shoot jump. He's not a very good jump shooter, right?
Yep.
So, in order for me as a GM, I need these 2 guys to be successful. Let's keep the ball in Russell Westbrook's hand. Period. That's what we're going to do. We want him. We want to get up and down the floor, which is what Mike D'Antoni wants to do. He wants an up and down game. He wants to put up 100. He don't want to score 120 points. He wants to put up 120 shots. Okay?
No
this
shit,
is what he does. Okay, so as long as we got the ball in Russell Westbrook's hand, we're going to be flying up and down the floor. That's everybody. That's James Harden included, right? So now what do you eliminate out of James Harden's game, right? You're eliminating him holding the ball for 15 seconds, going one-on-one, while the defense is just standing, right? The ball's not in his hand.
Yeah.
Right? It's in Russell Westbrook. We're going to put the ball in Westbrook's hand. We want guys flying up and down the floor. James, we want you spotted up 3-point line. Eric Gordon, I'm not familiar with their whole roster, but their other wing, we want those guys, spotted up 3-point line. Because now, when Russell Westbrook penetrates and collapses the defense, he'll get it done behind. He'll get it done behind to their big man. What's his name? And it's escapes me right now. He's so nice. I forget his name. The big dark skin, 7-footer. I'm so mad I can't remember his name.
Plays for
but he's gonna get his look like who?
For Houston.
Yeah.
Clint Capella.
They're 5 men. Capella, that's it. Yeah, Clint Capella. So he just like he made Steven Adams successful. He created an all-star Steven Adams in Russ Westbrook did in Oklahoma City with those dump behind, collapse the defense and give them quick little. Russell Westbrook averaged a triple-double. Steve, that's 10 assists. 5 of those assists, at least 5 of those assists, was just dumping the ball to Steven Adams when the defense collapsed. So now we got Clint Capella in the game. As long as he's running up and down the floor, you know what I'm saying, he's going to be good. That's where he's going to get his points. So pick and roll, high wiggle, get it in the fast break. They're going to try and stop Russell Westbrook penetration, high pick and roll, and he's rolling to the back, just like they did with Steven Adams in Oklahoma State. And you've got James Harden spotted up on one side, and you've got possibly Eric Gordon or another jump shooter spotted up on the other, right? Now what do you do? Right. Now we have to think about our half court, right? Now, Russell Westbrook in the half court game, this is where the other teams are successful against them. They load up the paint, force him to shoot jumpers. But we'll still allow Russell to bring the ball up. Set up their offense for James one-on-one, right? Now, James, he's not going to be our first look. Let's move the ball first, right? Let's move the ball to our opposite wing, see if we can get some action, you know what I'm saying, down the low. James, whenever the shot clock, if he hasn't got a stand-up look at on the fast break, if he a three-pointer, if he hasn't got something early, you know what I'm saying, in the game or pick and roll, whenever the shot clock is at 12 seconds, we give the ball to James and get out the way. Because that's what he's good at. That's what makes him successful. We don't want the ball in James' hand early in the shot clock. We don't want our first look to be the James Harden. We don't want to get him the ball 18 seconds from the shot clock. That's a whole offense that can be played. We don't want to get him the ball 20 seconds into the shot clock. That's a whole offense that can. We don't want, you know what I'm saying, 15. All right, I'll live with that. James is going to be our 10-second guy. After we run our offense, they've done a good job defensively of stopping us. 10 seconds on the shot clock, we get the ball in the James Harden's hand, isolation, and let him go to it. And there are going to be plenty of times, and there are going to be plenty of looks for him to get that ball in his hand. If James can get up 20 shots a game, we're good. If Russell can get up 20 shots a game, we're good. Everybody else is going to have to fill in. But if we can eliminate James dribbling the ball, dribble, as our first look, him bringing the ball up and dribble, and everyone else is stagnant and losing in that brilliant game, we can allow Russell Westbrook to continue to dictate the pace and the ebb and the flow of the game by getting it up and down. You know what I'm saying? Collapsing the defense and allowing James Harden to be spotted up at 3-point line. He's going to get plenty of licks from over there. You know what I'm saying? So, James, we don't want you handling the ball. Okay? We don't want you bringing it up and wear yourself out trying to create for this guy and for yourself. That's going to be Russell's job. He's going to do it by playing at 100 miles an hour, and everyone else is going to be flying up and down the floor to get, you know what I'm saying, to help. But whenever it's 10 seconds left on the shot clock, we're giving the ball to James and get out the way. It's isolation time, right? And that right there, you make James our 10-second guy, that's going to get him at least 15 licks a game, right? You're talking about 100 possessions in one NBA basketball game, which in a D'Antoni coach basketball game is going to go up to about 125, 130 possessions, right? That's going to get James at least 15 10-second licks, right? So he's happy. The team's happy because Russell, you know what I'm saying, trying to find other guys. He's trying to find our big man. He's trying to find, you know what I'm saying, James on the break, you know what I'm saying, while he's collapsing the defense and keeping himself happy. We're going to allow Russell Westbrook to be the creator. We're going to allow him to be the ebb and flow. We're going to allow James to be the guy that nobody can guard. So when we need a basket, instead of having a down low post presence, that we can just like a Shaquille O'Neal, like a DeMarcus Cousins, or an Anthony Davis, or who in the league right now, a Joel Embiid. You know what I'm saying? We can just dump the ball down. I mean, let's go to work. Here's the easy two. We're gonna let that be James. But let's get him the ball. You know what I'm saying? Because we gotta run our offense quick. You know what I'm saying? Russell gets the ball up, 20 seconds left on the shot clock. We run our offense, bang, 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 bang. That's there, that's there, that's there. 10 seconds left. Get James to getting out the way. That's it. That's how Houston is going to be successful. By playing almost similar to that Golden State style of basketball, where they're getting it up and down the floor and getting up quick shots. But what Golden State is good at is they're good at getting to their three-pointers and getting up threes, right? Especially when they have Kevin Durant. They're going to get it up and down the floor. They're not going to play as fast as Houston. Then the Golden State, Houston's going to play a lot faster than Golden State, but Golden State is good at getting up the threes. Houston is going to be good at penetration and collapsing defense and then kicking out and swinging the ball and finding open guys for three. That's how Houston is going to be successful. They're not going to be successful with James Harden bringing the ball up. The offense is going to continue to stagnate. Russell Westbrook is going to be a headache, the likes of which you have never seen before. And the team is going to fall apart. You have to put the ball in Russell Westbrook's hands, and you have to get James Harden.
All right, fair enough. And now, let's move along since we're just about close to first promo break. Miss Heather, I'll drop this subject on you. We had the Warriors basically execute a sign and trade, which to me, as far as management-wise, was one of the smartest things that they could do. Kevin Durant was going to walk as soon as they knew that it was about getting something for him and not just letting him walk for nothing. So they get back and return D'Angelo Russell, all-star from the Brooklyn Nets, in a sign and trade. Basically for Kevin Durant. They ended up having to move Andre Iguodala to the Memphis Grizzlies and ended up releasing Sean Livingston to create the cap room necessary to be able to make these moves, you know, with them, like Abdul mentioned earlier, keeping all of them was going to be damn near impossible just because of the cap situation. So, Heather, your thoughts on Russell, the newest Warrior to the squad, along with some of the others that they picked up during this offseason?
Okay. I have to say, though, I really have to say that part of my heart broke, you know, seeing Iggy and Livingston go. They've been such a huge part of the dynasty that Golden State has created. You know, Iggy has been absolutely phenomenal. He's filled in every which way possible whenever he has been needed. And he's definitely just like, and he's a fun dude to watch. He's just a big, goofy old dude who is just fun to watch and really stepped up in the times that he was needed to. Sean Livingston was a beast off the bench. And they're gonna be missed. So that was hard. You know, they're a huge part of how we got to where we are now. As far as Russell goes, I'm honestly, I'm on the fence about this. I will remain cautiously optimistic. It's always hard when you have a team that's been so much together over such a period of time, adding any new piece to the dynamic and seeing how it works out. It's kind of, I said the same thing when we picked up KD. I wasn't sure how that was going to quite work out just because, you know, it's hard when you're bringing somebody in. It's like being the new kid in class, right? That can either go really well or like you could be the most hated kid in class. Exactly. So, you know, I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm really sad. For me, it's going to take the season to start because it's like, I guess that was a little more emotional for me, losing Livingston and Iguodala than losing KD was, just because they had been part of the team and an integral part of the team for as long as they have been. You know, and it's really sad to see them go. I would have loved to see them stay, but I also wish them I wish them nothing but the best in what they do, and hopefully Russell will come on and be a great addition. He's young. He's got that going for him, and I think putting him around guys like Steph, guys like Clay, I think that could be great for him. And we'll just have to, and a coach like Steve Kerr, who is definitely great at managing personalities. Because just to go back on that topic, we had touched on just a little bit earlier. I think as far as the Westbrook and James Harden situation goes, that's where D'Antoni is really going to have to be that manager of personalities and egos. That's going to be absolutely necessary in that situation. But we've already seen how Steve Kerr has worked his magic and been able to integrate new players into an already strong dynamic. So, the other question is how long are we going to be without Clay? That's a question. And so he's going to have he's going to get a chance to get out there and prove himself, I think. And maybe he will be just the addition that we need. It's going to be an interesting year. We're opening in a new arena. My heart hurts a bit. They've already started taking off they had already started taking off the Oracle letters off of the arena, and although that's not what it's going to be named in San Francisco anyway, but it was a bittersweet season because that's where I grew up watching them play basketball, and it's bittersweet. I believe that team deserves an amazing arena. The only thing that saddens me is I feel like this happened before they even moved arenas, but like us fans, who've been there from the get have been basically priced out. And that's happening in sports all the way around, with market value pricing and all of that. So, we'll see. It's hard. It's going to be a difficult start to a season because for them all the way around, it's going to be a completely different environment. There was no environment like Oracle, period. Oracle was, a lot of people will tell you Oracle was a perfect basketball arena. Just for like sound, for fans. It may have been old. It may not have looked super pretty, but, it was. And so they're going to be starting off in a new environment. They're going to be starting off with missing some really key people who've been there through this, what has lifted them up to where they're at right now. And then also they've got the addition of some new people. So seeing how they deal with all of that transition and all of that change at the same time is going to be interesting.
Yeah. Yes, it is. I agree 100%. Like, this Warriors team is definitely going to be something new, but that's the challenge to keeping yourself relevant. The Warriors at this point have what Westgate calls the seventh best odds at plus 1,400 of winning the NBA Finals. Nobody's putting that expectation on them. Only expectation they have is for them to go out there and bust their ass and play hard. All right, Duel. I'll let you close out this segment on the Warriors and on basketball with your thoughts on what the Warriors are and what they could become.
Is he laughing?
Okay.
Really?
Oh, it's pretty much the reaction I expected. But go on, Duel.
thinking the word irrelevant is going through his head right now.
First, let me say, I'm going to enjoy this. Let me begin by saying to the Hampton Five, you niggas ain't slick. You cannot cheat the game. Now, the idea was great. But what you have to understand is the three-peat is a sacred and holy thing amongst in the NBA. You cannot cheat the game. I know what you were trying to do, and I know what you were trying to accomplish, and you almost did it. But you cannot cheat the game. Nice try. It was wonderful to watch. It was. But you cannot cheat the game. In the end, you cheated the league. You cheated your competition. You cheated the game. And you got what you deserved. A back-to-back. Great teams go back-to-back. But only legendary teams get that three-peat. And again, the idea was nice, but you cannot cheat the game. You cannot cheat the process. See, it's a process that goes into that three-peat. It's a lot of hard work, effort, trial, and tribulation. And they faced none of that. So in the end, when it came time to work for it, when it came time to hunker down and get gritty and work for it, when you had to try extra hard and you ain't had to try hard 3 years, when you had to play extra tough and you ain't had to play extra tough in 3 years, the kind of thing happens. Again, nice try. And that team will go down as one of the greatest. But you cannot cheat the game.
Okay, so
I say with...
Go ahead.
Let me finish.
Let him finish.
In closing, the last great legendary team to hold this sacred three-peat is the same team that the Warriors will have always and continue to forever look up to. That being the LA Lakers.
Okay, well, being a bit. Okay, first, I'll start where he ended. Hold on. I'll start where he ended. I'll start where he ended with the fact that for the past 5 years we've been looking down at you. But I want to say it's okay. Hold on. It's okay that they didn't three-peat, and I understand that. Yes, that is something that Lakers fans can lord over the head of Warriors fans for the longest time. Had one of the greatest teams in history, didn't three-peat. Okay, I'll give you that. But here's only one other thing. So, two other things I vibed from that. I don't expect the Lakers or Clippers to do well this year because they're cheating the game. And then two.
Come on, man.
Okay, hold up. And then the second thing I guys then is the first 4 years against LeBron-led teams, there was no challenge until they got to the Toronto Raptors. So I don't know what you're saying about LeBron there, but it is what it is. The words are the words. Take it how you want to.
Can I say one thing before we go to break?
Yeah.
Can we all send prayers out to Derrick Rose? Because that man must have lost his fucking mind.
Man, I'm sorry. I love Derrick Rose too, but saying I'm already a Hall of Famer is like, bro, like, come on, you at least got to play
But
in one
like,
finals. You at
but
least
it's
got to play in one
logic too
finals.
behind it. Like, because my friends say so. Like, you know what? I bet your mama says so too. So yeah, you should be a Hall of Famer. Before you can actually be a Hall of Famer, you might need to actually play an actual full season of basketball.
That would be a good start. That would definitely be a good start. No offense to the man, but dude, you got anything to say about Derrick Rose saying he's already a Hall of Famer, at least according to his sons?
Again, you cannot cheat the game.
You cannot cheat the game.
It's a lot of hard work and effort. It is a process to becoming a Hall of Famer. It is players that have played the game that should be in the Hall of Fame and aren't. So, I put it to you like this. High school Hall of Fame, instantly. Man did some incredible things in high school. College, one and done, great and spectacular. One of the first requirements of being a Hall of Famer is completing, consecutive NBA seasons. You got to play, 82 games. But not just 1 year, like, 2, 3, 4, 5 years in a row. Could he be a Hall of Famer? I think the window is still open because he's still playing, and there's a lot, he can still accomplish in the game to become a Hall of Famer. But you haven't accomplished enough. It's like
You got that Tenkari, huh?
it's like, okay, I'll put it to you like this. It's what everyone was talking about and so on and so forth, how we got here. It's like the Migos saying they're a better group or a better rap group than Bone Thugs and Harmony. First of all, your resume isn't enough. Okay? You don't have a catalog, you know what I'm saying, to even put yourself in that conversation. So go out there and get your work done. You know what I'm saying? Do your thing in the studio. You know what I'm saying? Keep making hits. And, you know what I'm saying? And go on platinum and do your thing. Then, and when you get your catalog up and about, if you can make it past 5, 10 years in the game, then, you know what I'm saying? And it's the same for Derrick Rose. Okay, yeah, you made some hits. You played some great games and you've done some great things, but there's still a whole hell of a lot more for you to accomplish. You know what I'm saying? In order for you to, you know what I'm saying, even walk in that that's some big shoes right there.
Yeah,
now, can he do it? Yeah, he can do it. Don't get me wrong. He has the game. He has the game. He can shoot. He can handle it. You know what I'm saying? But he also has to stay healthy. He has to lead his team. He has to evolve and grow as a player. Right. And that's going to take some years. That's the work. That's it. That's the work.
Putting the cart before the horse there, Mr. Rose. Putting the cart before the horse. All right. That's it for us on the NBA tip. We're going to take a quick promo break. Listen to a couple of quick promos from Dub Podcast, VFU, Voice from the Underground, Ghost to the Stratosphere, an Amazing Nerd Show. And then we'll be back to talk what has basically been one of the most interesting off seasons ever for the NFL. And it's all basically surrounding one bipolar, lunatic, PTSD, throw whatever label you want to throw on him. Something wrong with him.
Narcissistic personality disorder.
Yeah. And we'll get to that after the break. You're listening to West Coast Bias right here on the Voice Present Radio Network, Spreaker.com, and I believe iHeartRadio and Spotify as well.
So, what's up? Steve Fingerstyles here, the host of the podcast, spelled D-A, of course. Tune in each and every week to hear what pisses me off, what angers me, what I make fun of, and of course, my crazy rants. I also have incompetent co-hosts, cool guests, and a silent producer that sucks. So what more do you need from a podcast? You can listen on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, SoundCloud, and the Pod Bros Network. Peace.
Hey guys, This is Venice, and I've got a message from a friend of mine about my favorite podcast.
It's your boy, Flavor Flav, in full effect. Check this out, everybody. I want y'all to go check out TJ.
What's good, everybody? TJ Johnson here for Voice from the Underground. I am the most handsome.
Big Has.
And I'm smoking my cigar, of course.
You know what I'm saying? And Dutch.
You pick me up in an Uber and a PT Cruiser, I'm calling Lyft.
Because they be fighting the power, talking about social issues, politics, you know what I'm saying?
And we're not even that good.
Right, we're terrible. Terrible. Tangents all over the place.
And not only that, but they be keeping it fun with the sports, music, comics, and movies too.
Am I allowed to talk?
I think, no, not right now.
Shut up, colonizer!
You know what I'm saying? He on Twitter at VFU Podcast. So you can find them. So check 1, 2. This is Flavor Flav. Yeah, boy.
Okay, what Flav was trying to say is, check out Voice from the Underground on your favorite podcast network.
Voice from the Underground.
From the galactic depths of the comic book universe comes the Ghosts of the Stratosphere, ready to galvanize and energize your mind with the latest of comic book news and reviews. And why are you stopping me? Yes, that's much better. Hi, this is Andy Larson for Ghosts of the Stratosphere. Join me every week along with my co-hosts Rob Stewart and Chad Smith, as well as a cavalcade of fantastic comic book guests, as we dish out heaping helpings of the greatest and latest of comic book news and reviews. New shows posted every Tuesday with bonus shows every first Friday of the month. You can find us on iTunes and Stitcher under Ghosts of the Stratosphere, as well as on our website, www.gotstratosphere.com. Hope to see you soon, folks.
Interruption in progress. Now hijacking into ANS 2.0 immersion rig. Now simulating the Amazing Nerd Show. Featuring comics.
And Batman's like, you're safe here and everything, but the Joker all of a sudden pulls out a gun and shoots himself.
Movies.
People fight with lightsabers. What the hell do you want? I mean, in every one of these movies, there's a lightsaber battle.
Yeah, no problem. I'm gonna rewatch it a million times.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, give me something more.
Wrestling.
That would be awesome. Oh my god, just a monster. Fans would be like, holy, what the hell's going on? What happened to Jericho?
Horror.
It starts off like any other like home invasion type of story, and then it just goes crazy.
And more.
Hey, this is Christian.
Hey, this is Damon.
And we are the Amazing Nerd Show.
Make sure to download us on all your favorite podcast platforms.
Yeah. Yeah,
and I ended up winning the league. So, but they wanted to laugh at me about it. Like, they're like, you're going to use that pick on a kicker?
Yep.
And I'm like, when he's the one making all the points for the team? Yeah.
Yeah. Amen to that. like, put my money on that. Like, there's been times that kicker Justin Turner for the Ravens. I've taken him quite a few times simply because I know that fool's going to score some points. But the Ravens did put up a lot of points today, putting up 59 against fucking Miami. I didn't know Miami was that bad.
Yeah.
Shit. But, all right, so let's talk some football, y'all. We're back live on air here. Let's talk some football. Let's start with what has been the craziest story of the entire offseason, and that is the Antonio Brown saga. That started in Pittsburgh towards the end of last season, in which he forced his way out of Pittsburgh by acting crazy and not showing up to practices and being suspended for games and shit like that. And
I don't think he's acting.
Yeah, okay. Heather thinks that there's clinically something wrong with him, which I can agree to. But he went from there to Oakland. Now, it looked like everything was hunky-dory in Oakland. Oakland gave him his contract, gave him his $30 million. And then it started with a foot and ended with a helmet, and yeah. Let's start with you, Heather, as one of the resident Raider fans, and your thoughts on the saga that led to Antonio Brown's eventual release.
Well, like we were talking off the air, I think they needed to release him, but I think that they were a little bit dumb and hasty in the way that they went about it. It's kind of like when you do something just like out of mean and spite because in that moment you're just so angry, when all they basically did was facilitate him leaving and going directly to the Patriots. But that aside, I mean, it's the fact that Pittsburgh was willing, more than willing, to take a $21 million cap hit just to get rid of him. Wasn't the writing on the wall to anybody?
Yeah.
I don't know what was. I mean, to me, that says a lot. That a team that's willing to take that big of a hit to their cap to get rid of a player, that player's a cancer. I'm not going to lie. I legit think something's wrong with him. I think that, and this is no disrespect whatsoever, but just seeing his antics and his behavior and the way he's just been spiraling, the kid needs help, like legit. Another thing I also didn't appreciate, like this whole beef he got into with Juju after he left Pittsburgh, which is ridiculous and uncalled for. Now, I'm not a Steelers fan, but I am USC alumni. And Juju is my heart. That kid is fucking amazing. I don't care what team he plays for. He's humble, he's kind, and all he ever did was look up to Brown. And Brown turned around and treated him like shit. Because what was happening was he didn't like sharing the spotlight. In fact, he saw the writing on the wall himself. He knew that eventually Juju was going to be his replacement. And he couldn't stand the fact that there was going to be somebody who was either close to or eventually being better than he was. Not just better than he was, but just a better freaking human being. This whole thing has been a circus, from his stupid foot freaking freezing frostbite, stupid injury in France. What the fuck are you doing in France anyways? You know they hate us there. To arriving to camp in a hot air balloon, to this stupid freaking helmet bullshit, to calling Mayock a racist slur, if people want to call it that way. I mean, fine, whatever. It's not like I wasn't necessarily offended by it, but the fact that he would have probably put hands on Mayock if, ironically, it wasn't Burfict of all players who held him back from fighting. When Burfict is the voice of reason and the one trying to keep Antonio Brown from fighting rather than trying to fight him, we're in big fucking trouble. I mean, just plain and simple.
Amen to that.
But then the problem after that was then they just reinforced his bad behavior by saying he was still going to be playing on Monday. They should have said right there and suspended him right there, period. Because all that does is reinforce his bad behavior and ensure that the behavior is only going to get worse from there. He's like a toddler testing his boundaries. How far can I push you before too far is too far? In that video he posted about I'm free, like, what the fuck are you talking about? You're free. Nobody was holding you captive. In fact, everybody was trying to put you on somebody else.
You said you were happy to be a Raider.
And exactly. And then his grandma saying, I told you it all worked out. There has been zero accountability for this kid. Like, no accountability for his own actions. It's everybody else's fault. Everybody else is the problem. And it's like, it's all about him getting attention, whether that's good attention or bad attention. That's why I'm telling you, there's something going on up in his head. But he's been surrounded by people, by yes people. People who always tell him yes. People who support his bad behavior, people who I'm sure have a handout in all of this. And he doesn't like it and can't handle it when somebody stands up to him, when somebody tells him no, when somebody has the spotlight over him. I mean, the way that he left the Steelers was so disrespectful. The fact that any other team would want to even touch him after that is beyond me. Because if he had that problem...
No, I agree with you 1,000%. They're like, but this whole thing with the Raiders, it's that same thing times 10. Like, I'm surprised. I didn't expect him to I expected him to be nuclear fucking waste for the next 5-6 weeks till all this shit blew over. I didn't expect a single team to want anything to fucking do with him. And yet, within hours of being released from the Raiders, he's signed by the Patriots. Huh?
I figured it would be the Pats. But I said from the moment he was signed. Yeah. I said from the moment he was signed, he was never going to see the field in a Raiders jersey. The moment he was signed, I saw this coming. But I've also been hearing somebody bitch about him for the last 3.5 years. So that has something to do with it too, you know?
But, needless to say, like I said, this has been one of the craziest off-season situations I've ever seen in my life. Like, the guy, like I said, all I can say is I'm 1,000% happy the Niners didn't end up getting that trade for him. Because, like, this dude, like, I'm not saying, like, and here's where I differ from a lot of people. A lot of people think that because he's not going to be on the field, now all of a sudden the Raiders go from being an okay team to being a garbage team. I think they go from being an okay team to being an okay team. I don't really think he's going to move the needle. He moves the needle much on how many victories or losses they were going to have this year, and especially the fact that he's never going to see the field. But yeah, like if this has happened mid-season and they released him and they were doing well, then I might say they're going to fall off. But now they just go into the season with one less dude. I hate to say it like that because that one less dude is very important.
His performance is based on his perception.
Yeah.
Like, is he like? That's the other thing. Like, just because I'm a Raiders fan, but let's face it, we haven't been doing so well. Yeah. He does not do well with losing.
Yeah.
So, the moment that they got out there and started losing, he was going to start losing his shit even more.
Right.
So,
Randy Moss, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing we all said when he went to the Pats. It's like, we just got mocked.
Yep, again. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, everybody got what they wanted. He got out of town. He got to go to the Patriots. The Raiders got some peace and quiet. The Steelers got some peace and quiet. So let's see what happens with him in New England. Is he like Randy Moss? Is he a 1-year wonder, like a 1 or 2 year wonder where he'll play there for a year or two and that will be it? Or is he and then he'll flame out of there, or is this something that'll actually last till the end of his career and he'll retire a Patriot? Duel, your thoughts on whether or not this will be a long-lasting relationship between the Patriots and Antonio Brown?
Yeah, it's going to be long-lasting. I guarantee you that. Because I absolutely agree with Heather. Something wrong with dude, and ego is just a little too big. He thinks he's bigger than the game, bigger than the team, bigger than everything. It's all about Antonio Brown. You can go all out if you do your thing. You make plays, you exciting and dynamic. But at some point in time, his ego is going to be deflated. And that's exactly what he's walking into going to New England. Okay, we are talking about the New England Patriots here. As much as you want to hate them, you got to give credit where credit is due. They win games, they win Super Bowls. That is a championship organization.
They kill people.
But at the same time, though, the one thing that you're not going to hear is Antonio Brown. I guarantee you will not hear a word from Antonio Brown this day forth. I'd be surprised if you hear something from him on Twitter, because he's on his last down. Like, don't think for a second like how he left Pittsburgh and, you know what I'm saying, the Andes and what he did in Oakland and so on and so forth. Don't think that, like, you know what I'm saying, that goes past anybody. You feel me? Like, you know what I'm saying, the league, they see that, you know what I'm saying, the general managers, good old boy league, they all talk, converse. They know what's happening. You feel me? He's on his last down. Period. This first and forever right here. You understand what I'm saying? So either he get his shit straight and stop, you know what I'm saying, with the media, with the Twitter fingers, with the antics, with the, you know what I'm saying, everything that ain't got nothing to do with football, or he can find himself out the league. And that's what the Patriots are they're gonna put that to him. Yeah, the minute he walked off the plane and walked into that room, that with Belichick and Kurt Kraft and all of them, they sat him down and said, enough is enough, Antonio. Don't want to hear it. Don't want to hear Twitter. Don't want to hear you in the media. Don't want to hear you, you know what I'm saying, talking. Don't want to hear it. You know what I'm saying? We have guys that handle the media. You know what I'm saying? If you're in an interview after the game, fine. Other than that, don't say a word. We brought you here to play football. We didn't bring you here to talk to you. We didn't bring you here to have fun and play on Twitter and do all those crazy things. We brought you here to play football, and that's what you're going to do. If you don't want to do that, you can walk up the door right now and go see the team. It's going to stop. And I guarantee you, you know what I'm saying, he may have an offer, but again, they're looking at that name.
Yeah.
Here we are into the season. You know, we got guys going. You know, unless it's just a dire situation and the team absolutely needs a receiver, right? No. Because there's been plenty of guys, plenty of players with plenty of gas in the tank that just ain't getting them calls and ain't getting them looks. Yep. And if you want to, you can put Kaepernick on that. Yep. You know? So, that's what it is. He's on his last down. And if he can't act right in New England, you know, it's a very slim chance a team will take a chance on him. But I'm looking at Ocho Cinco's, plenty of gas in the tank, not in the league, you know what I'm saying? Now, I'm talking about when they were out. Yeah. Ocho Cinco had a few years. Terrell Owens had a few years. You can go down the line. You know, of guys had a few years left. But, you know, teams don't want to take a chance on him. You know, what do we have to do? What kind of circus is going on in this locker room? That's what Antonio Brown has been for the past 2 years. He started in Pittsburgh, you know, where he figured he could just mouth off and say whatever, got a little too comfortable, you know, a little bit too loose in the environment, and figured he can bring that to the Raiders, a team that had no true culture, no true structure established and built yet, and we're trying to, you know what I'm saying, rebuild that and get away with the bullshit. And they weren't having it. At this point, okay, yeah, come on to New England. You can help us win football games. You can help us get back to the Super Bowl, Tom Brady, greatest ever, all that. Sure. But you better not say a word. And if you do, if this even looks like something that looks like Oakland or looks like Pittsburgh, you can see yourself out the door. You need this ring. We want another ring, and that can happen here. But you better not say a word.
Yep,
Has he said anything since he's been there?
Not really.
Since he signed that contract, since, you know what I'm saying, it's been reported Antonio Brown signed with the Patriots. Have you heard anything from him?
Nope.
Have you heard, well, the league is going to pay now? I told y'all. Have you heard any boasting or any bragging or anything like that?
Yes.
You did?
Yes.
Already?
There was, yes. Okay. Yes. There was the tweet aimed at Carr, the bumper cars tweet.
No, see, yeah. So I mean,
you know, it's still shit, and I mean, it's not that big. He's not talking about his own team yet, so that makes it let to be slide. But it's just I mean, is nobody else concerned with the fact that what he did was also highly illegal? The fact that, okay, California is a two-party consent state. Just him recording that call, with freaking Gruden was illegal because it was done without his knowledge. And then he goes and freaking posts it. And the fact that also it came out, he was actually seeking advice from people on social how to get out of there. Something is legit wrong. And I'm not saying this to talk shit. I'm legitimately, this kid needs help. My concern is that because he's also going, New England also picked up Gordon. And Gordon has been making progress. So I'm concerned that putting Antonio Brown in the same situation with Josh Gordon is going to make Josh Gordon backslide. I feel like they're going to go down like freaking dominoes, which in some ways I feel like isn't really fair to Josh Gordon, because now here's this environment that was a very stable environment that, even Amy Trask was talking about. If there's an organization that might be able to get them right, it's this one, and Gordon's been doing better. His mental health has been doing better. Well, now you introduce this into that, and all bets are off, man.
Yep. Add more toxicity to the situation, but they believe that Belichick can handle it. So we'll kind of see how it flies out.
How'd that work out with Aaron Hernandez?
Yeah, but I think Hernandez was a little bit more sneaky about his shit than Brown is. Brown's that stupid idiot that screams from the rooftop that he just killed somebody, and instead of Aaron Hernandez who tries to hide it. So I just think like I said, I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't wish one thing either way or the other, but I could see it going bad. I could see it going good. But this, moving forward, because we could talk Antonio Brown for an entire episode, like we said earlier. There were 3 critical extensions. One that's still a holdout that happened over this offseason. You had Ezekiel Elliott, who just finally got paid, who is now the highest paid running back in the NFL after throwing a fit. Tyreek Hill, who got in trouble with the law and managed to get himself a $55 million extension. And then Julio Jones, who has been the model athlete and the model person and the dude you want on your team, got a 3-year, $60-something million extension from the whatchamacallit. And then you have Melvin Gordon, who's basically talked his way out of San Diego, or out of the Chargers, as they've told him he can seek a trade now. And because he's looking for an extension and more money. So I'll start out by asking this question, and y'all can go off however y'all want to about it. Dude, you can kick us off. Did these guys deserve their money? We know in the general sense of them being athletes and risking their bodies, yes, they got their deserved money. But as their contributions to their individual teams, did they truly earn this money?
You're talking specifically about Ezekiel Elliott and Melvin Gordon?
Well, Gordon, Julio Jones, Tyreek Hill,
Hill.
Just looking at their contributions versus what they got paid. Which one was the most deserving of his money?
Ezekiel Elliott. He was the most deserving. What he does for the Dallas Cowboys is unquestionable, hands down. He makes the game easier, for every other offensive weapon around, especially Dak Prescott. As a defense, you have to pay attention to Ezekiel Elliott. He's going to eat yards, going to find holes, he's going to score touchdowns. So immediately you're putting 8 in the box. I don't care if you're in nickel, dime, whatever. You have to put 8 guys in those boxes because he's going to see those holes and he's going to hit them. And you're probably going to put 8 light linebackers in that box because he's running over corners. He's running around linebackers. He's running over corners. He's hitting holes. And he is the complete back, the best back in the league, hands down. And he deserves every bit of that.
All right,
Melvin
Heather.
Gordon.
You go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, Zeke, no. And I'm going off of more than just play, because of all the troubles he's been in off the field. Tyreek Hill, really, really, really bad fucking look for Kansas City. I'm sorry, that's a horrible look for Kansas City. And I mean, is he a great wide receiver? Yeah, but he's like an absolutely shitty human being. And it's just a really bad look with everything, honestly, with everything that both of those players went through this offseason. It's a bad look for that. I mean, it just goes to prove, just make sure that whatever you do isn't caught on video and whatever you do isn't smoking weed. Okay? That's the lesson out there, children, is don't smoke weed, and it's okay to do ridiculously stupid things as long as you're not caught on video. But like we were talking off air, there was a little bit of karmic backflow on Tyreek Hill today. I have never wished ill will on a player. I've never wished for a player to get hurt, but I truly believe today was karma in action. He got lucky that the injury that he had could have actually caused internal injury, which it did not, and he's only looking at 2 to 3 weeks out. So Chiefs, that's what you get. Hill, that's what you get. That's what you get for going up against people your own fucking size. Maybe that'll knock him down a peg or two. As far as like play-wise, okay, I'll give that to Zeke. I don't believe I'm on the fence with, between him and Gurley, because he just took the throne from Gurley with his contract. The San Diego dude, LA Chargers dude, they basically Gruden maxed him, which, okay, probably will end up regretting, just like, I'm sure he'll never admit it, but Gruden, one of the first things that Gruden said, like a game after letting Khalil Mack go, was it's hard to find a good defensive back. Well, fuck yeah, when you let the best one in the goddamn league go. So, there are certain players, certain positions that I don't blame these guys for, before their contract is up, wanting an extension, wanting more money, because they're playing in a position that is most likely to come out with severe, significant injury and possibly even death. So, I don't blame these guys for doing it. And, if the team doesn't want to pay for it. What I don't understand with some of these teams is they'll shell out money for people I can't understand why they're shelling money out for, but then won't do it when it's a player who deserves it. In Mac's case last season, I really think it's because he was part of the Reggie McKenzie era, and we also know with Gruden's ego what happens when a player tries to hold out, which actually makes the Antonio Brown situation even worse, because basically you just showed before you released him, because you were going to let him play, that it's better to almost hit your GM and verbally assault him than it is to hold out for a better contract. Like, there's a complete disconnect here. But some major money was moved this offseason, and some of it deserved, some of it not. I'll hold off on how I really term because what I usually see oftentimes, and you see this very much so with the quarterback, is the second that they're handed that, especially when it's that renewal contract from their first contract, they get this big fat contract and then they go down the shitter. So we'll see the play. We'll see if they can stay out of trouble. I just find it hard to spend that much money on a player who's already been suspended games, who's already cost the team money. I get what he does when he's on the field, but there's so much chance for him to not actually be on the field because of his behavior, is he really worth risking that much money?
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from. And there's a lot of teams. You are correct in one sense
If
that
it don't make dollars, it don't make sense.
yeah, well, and really the playmakers are what make these teams money. But I am sick and tired of the over and over again that these players do these really egregious things and they still have a job afterwards. Whereas if I pulled such an egregious thing that
You'd be in prison.
I wouldn't have a job, and I'd be in prison, exactly. But okay, so let's go ahead and move forward. And Duel, you can start out answering this question for us. The new CBA is currently being negotiated between the Players Association and the NFL. Like they're talking about working towards the new CBA. I guess it's up in a few years here. And
no, next year.
Is it next year?
They said expect us. They said they've already the Players Association has already told players to start preparing for a strike in 2020.
Oh, there you go. Well, one of the things that's on the table that they're talking about is preseason games, shortening the preseason. So I asked the question, I'll put this to you first, Duel, and Heather, you can follow up. Are preseason games really necessary at all? Like, to me, nah, not really. Maybe one or two of them, but no more than that. Duel, your thoughts?
Yeah, me personally, I definitely the preseason. Or 4 games, maybe a little bit too much, but with what they do in those 4 games, like remember the preseason, and I guess the big reason why it's being so talked about. It's basically an evaluation period for players, you know what I'm saying, at the back end of your roster, right? Like, the first 11 guys in your offense, the first 11 guys in the defense, right? So you know who those 22 guys are, pretty much. Now you've got a roster of about 60 other players, going into the camps and OTAs and everything that you got to figure out. So, to give those players ample enough time and opportunity, to present themselves a worthy NFL player, I think, 4 games is enough. And because they're pretty much going to be playing those 4 games anyway and getting cut on a week-to-week basis, But just in terms of wear and tear on the body, and player safety and everything like that, yeah, I would say cut it down to 2 games, right? And, use those first 2 weeks, where you're going to play games or whatever, what have you, as that evaluation process, more inter-squad play games, real-time, live action games, where, with limited contact, type things. You're doing it with your own squad, A team, B team, and then you can cut half of that down right there, and then use those last 2 preseason games to evaluate the roster that you were truly concerned, the guys that you really were on the fence about. Because you got 60 extra players. There's about 20 of them you're looking at like, nah, I got. So you can pretty much get rid of those guys. That's what I'm saying, without even putting them on the field, which is what the first preseason game is for anyway. Those guys that you're pretty much going to cut. Then you got the second game. It's pretty much the same thing. You got about 30 of those players left. And out of those 30, it's like maybe 10 that you kind of like, and you kind of see some potential in, and so on and so forth. So you can really use those for that first week to cut about 30 to 40 players. The first 2 weeks to cut about 40 players, and then use those last 2 games as a true evaluation process and a true preparation process for your starters and for the guys that you're going to be serious about carrying into the season.
All right, there you go, Heather. Your thoughts?
Well, this season, the Raiders, Derek Carr played a few snaps the entire freaking preseason, which is pretty crazy. And that was like, I think, the second game of preseason. Usually the third game is where we see like starters come in. But when you start having preseason games on an 80-yard field in Canada, I think that you're starting to show the lack of the need for it. Like, what's the point of that? I get that it is where you're supposed to be able to weed out who you don't want on your roster, but it also used to be used so that they could kick the dust off a little bit and get some of the starters in there, not like Atlanta Falcons Michael Vick being in the fourth quarter of a preseason game and getting fucking hurt kind of in there. That's dumb, but I still think that it's important to have a couple of games to have your starters get to play with the potential fill-ins in the areas, especially if they're players that they've never played with before. But more and more we're seeing that, they're not playing as much. Also, you have, Kev, I'm going to bring your team into this. Look at all the talk, all the shit that was talked about Jimmy G with the preseason games. And it's just, that's ridiculous to me because, again, you're not playing with your starters. Give the kid a break. I can't believe I'm actually saying this. Give the kid a break. I fucking hate it when I have to be logical and shit. Give the kid a break because he is coming off of an injury. But it's like, it is preseason. If you're going to fuck up, right now is the time to do it.
Amen.
Get that out of your system. Knock the dust off. Get the kinks out. I think preseason is important, but I also don't think it's important to be charging $70 a fucking ticket for a preseason game either. That's insanity.
Yeah, like that's amen. I think that's how they could solve the whole issue with 4 preseason games. Like 2 or to me 2, maybe 3 is fine. The 4th one is not necessary because the 4th one really is just a bunch of the starters don't ever play in the 4th game. It's just the backups versus the backups, and it's really sometimes it's good football, sometimes it's not. And so it's just like, get rid of that 4th. Start slowly. Get rid of that 4th game first, and then see if less than 3. Because I think if you extend training camp and then give it only 2 preseason games, then you're more likely to have them be able to make solid decisions. Because you extend training camp by a couple of weeks, you give them another chance to see them in non-game situations. But if you're going to extend the training camps, you can also do the whole thing where you have the practices, the cross-team practices, if they want similar to real competition. I was just going to say scrimmages. Yeah.
That's where you bring in scrimmages. Because here's the thing that I don't understand is we actually scrimmaged, we meaning the Raiders, we scrimmaged the Rams before we even played them in preseason.
Yeah.
Like, why are you scrimmaging a team that is just you're gonna go play a
5 days
preseason
later
game against? It doesn't make sense. Right. Usually it's like the Rams and Dallas scrimmaging against each other. Those are funny to watch because there's always fights during those ones.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's where doing some of the scrimmaging. I remember doing that, like, even in freaking Pop Warner in high school, you had scrimmages before you actually started your actual season.
So that
I think preseason definitely could get knocked down to 3 games. First 2 games have it be all of like your new people, the people you drafted, or the people your free agents, the ones who haven't necessarily played together. Try to get those figured out. The 3rd game, start putting those in with some of the starters, and then go from there.
Yeah, that can work for me. All right, so speaking of them Raiders that we kind of jumped around and talked about to start this segment, they do play tomorrow night against the Broncos in the season opener. It looks like Tyrell Williams is going to be their number one receiver. That's why I'm glad I got him in fantasy. And they got this kid, Josh Jacobs, who they let go of Doug Martin and allowed Marshawn Lynch to retire because they think this kid can get the job done. Heather, kick us off with your thoughts on how you feel this Raiders team is going to play opening up against one of their heated rivals in the Broncos starting this season.
Well, can I just start off by saying that I'm still bitter over the fact that the only reason why they're not playing in San Francisco right now is because the 49ers and the NFL nixed that. I'm really angry and bitter at the way that the ownership has treated their fans in the town of Oakland.
Yeah.
Just okay. Now that I've gotten that out of my system, honestly, we did. I mean, in comparative to seasons past, and this wasn't even including Brown in this situation either. We actually did fairly well in preseason, although, it's not uncommon we've seen teams who've gone undefeated in preseason and freaking shit the bed during the regular season. So preseason isn't necessarily a good predictor, but I'm on the fence on this just because of the 3-ring circus that everything has been just this last week leading up to the game. It's like the focus has been on everything but football, with freaking Browns antics and all of that bullshit. I'm just hoping that they can get their minds right, their heads straight, and gain some maybe trust back with ownership, with management, with coaching. Because the fact that they stood by and allowed this shit to go on for as long as it did, doesn't give a lot of faith to the other players. So I'm hoping that they can kind of just go out there and in some ways go out and like ball the fuck out just as a big fuck you to AB. But again, it's the Broncos. So, this is a game. It's really weird to be starting off the season, first of all, with this game. It's very strange. This is usually maybe the third or fourth game of the season, and then usually the second to last or the last game of the season. So it feels very weird to be back in that spot. I hope the temperature goes up so that screws the Broncos a little bit. But it's a weird time for this game to happen, because it seems with these two teams, no matter where they're at, this is always a tussle.
Yeah.
This is always a freaking game. Like, the Raiders could be at the bottom of the barrel and the Broncos at the top, or vice versa. And honestly, like, this is one of those games that you really never know. And they sometimes come out and surprise you. But we're opening at home. We're opening on a Monday night. We're opening after all of this freaking AB drama, and we're opening against, arguably our biggest rival in our division. So it should be, at the very least, an interesting game. I'm going to stay cautiously optimistic, but to be quite honest, I've lost none of the faith that I even had. I never drank the Gruden 2.0 Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
I don't believe in him as a coach. I don't think he should be there. I think he is a cause of a lot of the problems. I think his ego is just as bad as freaking AB's. And I really don't necessarily trust some of the directions that this team has gone in. So, and it really pains me to say that, because I've been ride or die with this team, just like since I could pick up a football, like the Warriors, since I could pick up a basketball. It really pains me to say this, because this is our last season in Oakland. And I don't know how I'm going to feel after this season, because it's like that girlfriend or that boyfriend who left you once, came back, and now they're leaving you again, but they still want to stay friends. Like, I don't know. But I hope that they go out and ball out. I really hope that for Carr's sake, because, you know, he's in the last couple years, and a lot of people like to place a lot of the blame on him, and I think a lot of the blame elsewhere. I mean, he has no control over a receiver dropping the ball after they've caught it. I mean, this literally, like...
You have reached the voicemail box of 51045903321. At the tone, when you are finished recording, you may hang up or press pound for more options.
But I hope Carter does well, and I really hope that this young receiver core that we have goes out there and shows that we didn't need Brown in the first place. That's what I'm hoping for. Hello?